Okay, today is Saturday. It is 1:23 a.m. It is uh, October 11th. Today is October 11th. So, so this is actually just for me. Okay, this video just this YouTube video is just for me. It is a documentation of the progress that I will make that I will make in the next 1 year. In the past, I would I would think of trading as one trade at a time, right? Okay. In the past, in the past, my thinking was essentially totally involved in a single trade, and my emotion would be completely tied to that single trade. Okay, and uh, and so there was an enormous amount of emotional turbulence because of that fact. Because a couple reasons. One, due to the fact that my skill set was low, I had a I had a tendency to lose a trade. And so when I lose a trade, then my emotion will be completely tattered. Okay, so that's how I traded in the beginning. Now, now there is a there is a thing called the turning point, a turning point. Okay, so what happens on a if you're you don't have to be an electrical engineer, but if you used an oscilloscope, okay, if you used an oscilloscope and you see a sine wave, you see what happens. Okay, okay, you can physically see the shift in the direction of each of the pixels, or the point change around and swoop and turn around. Okay, so a sine wave looks like this, right? And so what happens is when it does this, right, just like that. Okay, so what happens is it'll go in this direction and then it'll flip around. Okay, it's gonna flip around and go the other direction, right? So that's what happens too, right? So there was a point where uh, trading is very similar to that. Trading is incredibly similar to what is happening in a turning point. Okay, so what happened uh, now to describe it essentially, uh, initially, trading is because of the emotions and the lack of knowledge of trading. There is a catastrophic event that occurs because of that fact to the person who's making the trade. It just happens that way, right? So when that happens, there is a subconscious side that undermines the capital. Okay, so what am I talking about? Okay, what am I talking about? I'm getting to the point. Okay, I'm getting to the point. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting to the point where I'm getting to the point where I need to describe how I'm going to progress, uh, how I'm going to progress the next year. Okay, I'm in this. I decided to collect my thoughts because my day trading. I mean my evening job is waning down now. Okay, so I'm becoming a I'm less of a involved individual. I'm less involved in the I'm less involved in the everyday business of running a business. Okay, like a restaurant business. I'm less involved. Whereas before, I was doing a few things, deeply involved in the restaurant business of doing the dishes, doing the prep work, and and what else? Okay, prep work and dishes, and then also cooking. Right, that was part of it. Now I've got to the point where I make my own hamburgers, and my own hamburger, for me, is far better than anybody else who can make it. Okay, I haven't cooked hamburgers, but I got to the point where now I prefer to eat my own hamburgers. Okay, when I make it at the restaurant. Okay, so the owner was kind enough for me to allow me to make my own hamburgers. Okay, and so I make it just the way that I love it. Okay, and so I am the best person to make my own hamburgers. Whereas if somebody else makes it, however, uh, whether they're the best or not, is not the best for me, but the best for me. Okay, so that's the situation. Now, so that means that it made me think a little bit. It made me think about now, how do I proceed? How do I proceed transitioning into a full-time trader? Okay. So in the past, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to turn into a full-time trader by making these trades. And then, I mean, 5 years ago, I thought I was going to be a full-time trader every day. That's what I thought. I thought I was going to be a full-time trader every day in the beginning. Okay. Then I gradually realized that trading, as I become more familiar with it, as I become more familiar with trading, I became aware that uh, there is a learning curve. Okay, there's a learning curve that occurs. Couple factors. Uh, Money will always be around if I know what I'm doing and when I'm consistent. It's always there, so that's not an issue. The emotion, the self-control, we call it the discipline. Okay, discipline allows me to sit on my hands during certain type of situations. The discipline allows me to make certain risk management decisions. The other part is being able to and understanding the technical components of what trading is. So those two factors, those are the two primary factors, okay, impacting what day trading is, okay? And the third part is keeping myself healthy enough to conduct the business of day trading. Now that my career is winding down, okay, now that my career is winding down now as a restaurant employee, it really is, and so I have to I have to pass on the baton of certain activities that are going to happen within the next a year or 2 years. Okay, so I'm projecting. The I've sent an email to the owner like a month or two ago, and I informed him. Well, he's the one who bought it. There's multiple owners, right? So the father and son kind of thing. So I sent him. I said, in the next couple years, I'm going to fully transition into being a full-time trader because I can already see it. I can see the writing on the wall. Okay, I can see the writing on the wall based on the experience that I have acquired recently. Okay, based on the experience that I've acquired recently. Okay, so I project because I am also in the business of projecting. Okay, so in trading, what I do is I buy, projecting that is going to be in a different place statistically, uh, uh, in a positive direction. Okay, statistically, that's projection. Okay, positive projection. Okay, that's the game that I'm in. Okay, that's the way that I do things. Just like a regular employee who spends time doing something, at the end of it, there will be a solution based on the activities that are invested. So, so now I'm at a point where uh, I can see it. I can see the writing on the wall. I can see it. I can see the writing on the wall, and the writing on the wall is telling me that I am in this transitional state of being. Okay, in the next 12 months, okay, next 1 year, which is essentially the totality of the year 2026. Okay, in the year of the 2026, and may God be so kind to allow me to keep just working at the restaurant, so that I can pay all these bills. Okay, so I have to pay the internet. I have to pay the. I have to buy gas. I have to rent this office, and then I have to pay restitution, and so all that wrapped up, it requires me a certain amount of hours that I need to work. And the place that I currently work is a Catholic-owned restaurant, which means, which means, which means a great deal for me. Not for others, but it means a great deal for me because it allows me to have a peace of mind, knowing that the owner knows my intention to transition into a day trader. Okay, and so I feel more comfortable working at that restaurant than any other place. Okay, because because I am a Catholic. Okay, and then and being a Catholic, I know that as long as I'm good, okay, as long as I'm good, they know good. Okay, they know it, and so it works out. All right, so that's how it's going to be. So for the next 12 months, the totality of the year 2026 is essentially a transition into a significant return on the investment that I've made in the knowledge and the experience of being a trader. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so it means in the next 12 months, I'm currently working on a 10K platform challenge with funding pips, right? And so based on what I've done for the past almost no, now it's like 3 weeks, okay? Past 3 weeks, I'm seeing positive results, okay? When I look at the account, I'm positive, okay? So what that means is that if I project that, and I'm so next so that means that the first phase is going to be 8%. The second phase is 5%. Okay. The first phase I'm still working on. Okay, and I'm moving. I'm doing progress on that. I'm progressing towards completing the phase one challenge. But who knows what's going to happen? But statistically speaking, I have been positive for the past 3 weeks. Okay, 3 weeks. So when I'm positive for the past 3 weeks that I have survived FOMC, CPI, PPI, the world macroeconomic situations for the past 3 weeks, okay? And that is actually sitting on top of the 5K accounts that I actually got 2 payouts from, okay? So, which means essentially for the past 6 months, okay, more than 6 months, I have been on a positive, confirmed positive path to being an independently an independently successful trader. That's what it means. Okay, so again, going back to the turning point, and I'm trying to analyze. I've been trying to analyze how does that fit in? How do I completely understand what turning point is? And turning point is having losses on a consistent basis and then reducing it to a small amount and then taking a turn to seeing positive returns. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, that's what a turning point is. So for the next 12 months, okay, for the next 12 months, now we're talking about years. I'm not talking about like the next day, the next hour, next minute, which I was thinking that way, right? And so people talk about, okay, so you can't treat you can't treat trading. You got to treat trading as a business. Okay, so I didn't understand that. Okay, now I'm beginning to understand these things that people are talking about, and so I understand it now. Okay, and also there's what is that? There's another statement. There's another statement about trading, right? What is that? Okay, so one of them is treat business. Okay, so the marathon. The second thing is about a marathon. It's not about the one step in front where the race ends. This is a marathon. Okay, so it's one step, the next step, and my ex-wife was on a marathon, but I don't know. I've never been in a marathon, but I can just imagine what happens. Okay, so essentially taking one step, uh, going forward, picking up some water on the way. It's a little over 26 miles and things like that, right? So each step of the way adds up incrementally. And if I fall down in certain miles, my speed is a little bit less. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's so these things are starting to really become vivid in my travel as a trader. So now getting to the point. So the year 2026, okay, 2026, 26, okay, 26, okay, 26. It's the year that is going to essentially catapult me into essentially making some big bucks now. Okay, so I'm in a situation now where I will essentially be confident enough and uh, be experienced and technically and emotionally be aware of my current situation that allows me to be a profitable trader. And the launching pad, okay, the launching pad is going to be the year 2026. Okay, that's what it is. So what's gonna happen? Okay, so right now it's October. It's a middle of October. Okay, and for the past 3 weeks, I've been successful in taking my 10K. I'm being very conservative in my trading. Okay, I've been very conservative in my trading, and I kept up the discipline of being conservative in my trading because it means a great deal. But the small amount of gain will be a multiplication of what I will have. Okay, what I will have. Okay, when these things start to kick in, like the 50K and 100K. Okay, in the year 2026, what I expect, what I expect is what I expect is a return. What I expect is the confidence to take on the 50K challenge and the 100K challenge and maybe even 200K challenge. Okay, so so essentially the year 2026 will mark the point where a complete turnaround will occur with evidence. Okay, so that's what it means. And so now I feel like I'm like it sounds like I'm like talking about something that is really a whole hum or something that's already which is already a reality. Okay, but so so now we have October, which is like now we have like 2 to 3 more weeks, right? 2 to 3 more weeks, about 2.14, about 2.5 weeks left in October. Okay, so so that's October, which is 10. Okay, so there's November and December. So, which means that I should, based on the statistical track record that I have with the 10K account, I should be able to finish I should be able to finish the 10K phase one with a funding pips challenge. Okay, giving myself about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks to get the rest of that 8% that I need to pass the phase one. Okay, and I'm being very very conservative here because it means a great deal. Later on, when I have actually two different accounts, I can do something else about it. But that's how things will work. Okay, so now this is the production, the progress that the path that I've chosen, which is essentially take this 10K. Okay, now, the way, then I'm doing a single account. I'm doing a single account. I'm taking one single account, and I'm stepping through the phase one and a phase two, and then finally into the funded stage, and then getting a payout. Okay, so the idea is this. Okay, so I'm giving myself essentially about 1 month each to pass the phase one and phase two. And when I do that, it's roughly, we're talking about like 13% in 2 months. Getting 13% for 2 months. That's roughly about 80%, right? What is that? That's about what is that, like 80% or something like that, of whatever the money is, right? So 13%, okay, 13%, 2 months. Multiply that by, what is that? 6. Okay, uh, so that's about 80%, roughly about 80% gain per year. Uh, just looking at it, like 80% gain per year. Okay, so that's 80% a year in gains. Okay, 80% of gain. That means if I have $1 million account, okay, if I have a $1 million account, okay, if I have a $1 million account, I can expect to make $800,000 in 1 year. Okay, I can expect to make $800,000 in 1 year, which is essentially 80%, right? Then the platforms get 20% of that, but the idea is that I'm making that kind of money, right? So for the rest of October, for the rest of October, okay, then I expect to be very very close or even finished early with the phase one, okay, and then phase two I would take on and most likely finish by November. And then in December, what I expect to do is get hopefully about a couple of payouts, or working on the second payout. Okay, getting a second payout, and the money that I will, the money that I get, the money that I get from the money that I get from the payouts, I will use to purchase a 50K account. Okay, I'm going to purchase a 50K account. So that's going to happen in probably about the December of 2025, okay, which is a couple more months. In the year 2025, December of 2025, I will most likely, statistically speaking, be able to purchase a 50K account, which is essentially about about $300, a little bit shy of $300. With $300, I'm going to fund it. I'm going to make at least $300 with a 10K account, and I'm going to take that money and put it into the 50K account, and then I'm going to take the next 2 months, which essentially is going to be January and February. And then by March of 2026, with the 50K account, I should be able to extract a significant amount of money from the market. Okay, at least 5x of what it is, which means that if I'm looking at if I can make about 10%, okay, if I can make so if I just set it up like this, so if I am conservative, I'm conservative in my trading, and I'm expecting to make about 10%. We'll just say 10%, but maybe a little shy of 10%. So if I can make 10% per month, okay? 10% per month. Okay, so that means with a 10K account, that's gonna be about $1,000. Okay, so I should have roughly about $1,000, which will allow me to purchase the 50K account and then a 100K account. Okay, so if I'm able to make that kind of money with the 10K account, I'm going to buy both the 50K account and a 100K account. And I may or may not even trade the 50K account and trade the 100K account and then progress forward. And so by the March of 2026, I will be making 10% on a 100K account. Okay, I will be making 10% on a 100K account. Okay, so that's roughly about $10,000 a month. Okay, it's going to take about a 10,000. I'll be making about $10,000 a month. So that means by January and February, I will have passed the phase one and phase two of either the 50K or 100K account, and then by March, I should get a first payout of the 50K or the 100K account. Okay, which is going to be significant. 10% of 50K is 5K, right? In 1 month. Okay, 5K to 10K. So it's going to be that way. And so that means roughly that's going to be March, on April, and I should be able to keep that up for several months. Okay, so in June of 2026, I will be embarking on a $1,000 purchase of a 200K account. I'm going to be buying a 200K account for $1,000. And that $1,000 is going to be a 200K account. And 200K account, 10% of that is $20,000 a month with a 10% return on these trades that I'll be making, right? 10%. Okay, so that means in 1 month, I'm looking at making $20,000. $20,000, okay, with a 200K account. With a 200K account, so that's going to be happening. That's gonna happen probably the 200K will start to kick in. We're talking about a 2-month window, giving myself a very, very conservative means to, and my skill set may improve, and I may be able to reduce the time in order to pass the phase one and phase two. And why am I doing the phase one and phase two? Because it's the rules are a bit more favorable from the prop firms, because it provides a less of a risk for prop firms for me, because they know that I have passed the phase one, they know that I passed the phase two, which means that most likely the money that they're spending in order to allow me to trade has a less risk. All right, and so the rules are a little bit better than like zero day like the instant funding and things like that, or phase one funding. For instance, the leverage is higher. That's one example. So that means that if I embark on if I start to embark on a 200K challenge in June, which means that in June and July, okay, June and July, I should have we're talking about like 2 months. I'm giving myself like 2 months to pass these challenges. Okay, so I'm giving myself. I'm trying to be as conservative as possible, and I'm gonna. So we're talking about 15%, gaining 15% in 2 months. That's like if I have $1 million, if I have $2 million, okay, 15%. we're talking about, okay, so just round it up to like 10% per month. It's huge. We're talking about, if some of these platforms give like a $2 million max $2 million max funding, right? You could scale up and things like that, and $2 million, and 10% of that is $200,000 a month. We're talking about making $200,000. This is, I mean, there's, yeah. Anyway, it says here, don't let the sky turn into your ceiling. Look at that. Okay, so look at this. Look at this. Look what it says here. Can you read that? Can you read this? It says here, look. Don't let the sky turn into your ceiling. Is that cool or what? Huh? So that means if I have a freaking $10 million account, okay? If I have a $10 million account, okay? $10 million account. If I have a $10 million account, okay? If I have a $10 million funded account, okay? You know what that means? 10% of that is $1 million a month. Okay? $1 million a month trading conservatively, right? So that's the path. So now I'm taking my time. I'm taking my time with this 10K account, which is essentially, if I multiply by like 1,000, that's a mil. What is that? 100, right? If I multiply add two zeros, that's $1 million. Add two zeros at the end of it, it's like a month, $1 million. So that means that theoretically, I could be trading $10 million. $10 million. Okay, and even more. We're talking about, I mean, this is just like what that said right there, right? Don't let the sky be the ceiling, right? Don't let the sky turn into your ceiling. I don't know who's talking to me. I'm here by myself, okay? I am here by myself to potentially skyrocket in the year 2026 based on the way that I have been trading. Based on the way that I have been trading, I have the potential to skyrocket, okay, in the year 2020. I don't know. I don't know. It must be God, okay? It must be God. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. It must be God, okay? It must be God who's talking to me about this situation here, okay? So, So that means, like a month to month. I'm thinking like month to month now. I'm not thinking about like, okay, so I'm not thinking about like day to day, minute by minute kind of thing. Day by day, minute by kind of thing is just executing the plan that I have. Okay, I'm executing the plan that I have to progress further into developing into a massively successful day trader. All right. So that was the goal, okay? Think about it. If I have $10 billion to trade, okay? In 1 month, I'll make $1 billion. Anyway, okay, so that's the reality of this situation, okay? And there's probably a lot of people who are willing to give, okay, money to allow this to happen if they get a proper return, right? So, uh, So now it's October, and it's October, and I have demonstrated for the past 3 weeks with the 10K Phase 1 challenge that I have been successful simply by conservative and trading just in a very conservative manner, and I have been successful doing that, right? So that's the current situation. So I expect to pass. I expect to pass. And even if I fail, I'll try it again. But because I have the skill sets, I'm confident that I will pass eventually and confident that I will get a payout. That's the reality of the situation. That's what's going to happen, okay? All right? there could be a black swan event, and then I might be like in a state of mental degradation that causes me to do something that causes the account to be imploded. Okay, it could happen. Okay, it could happen, but I've minimized the statistical probability of that happening by allowing myself to be conservative, trading disciplined, allowing my experience and knowledge to take a foothold in my trading. Okay, so that's how I'm taking this marathon kind of thing. So the incremental small amount of progress that I've achieved with the 5K has already demonstrated to myself where this confidence is exploding is this, that I could theoretically in the very near future probably so if I were to project a little bit to year 2027, year 2028, I could be looking at either 2028 or 2027. 2027 being a maybe a $1 million account. Okay, so maybe a $1 million account, and then 2028 it could be $10 million account. So I'm thinking to myself probably at about 2028. I'm throwing big numbers out now. I'm thinking big numbers. I'm thinking big numbers. I could be in the year 2028. In the year 2028, I could be throwing out numbers like 10 million bucks, and making on a conservative basis 10% of $10 million essentially is $1 million a month. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Now, of course, it's going to be a lot of taxes, but there's a lot of taxes when I was trading 5K. There's going to be a lot of taxes when I'm trading 10 million bucks. It's just simple math. Okay, that's how it works, right? So the projection, and then I don't know what's going to happen in the year 2029 or year 2030. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Okay, so beyond that, I'm looking to do more of what I'm successful at as a day trader, and once that happens, essentially the sky. Don't let the sky turn into your ceiling. I have no idea why that's this. I have no idea. See, this is the aisle that I'm in, right? See, this is the aisle, and they put that poster right there. The they put that poster right there. Okay, so that means they didn't put like consistency, but they put that right there. It's like they knew that I was going to be successful. Okay, they knew that I was going to be successful. So they don't let the sky turn into your ceiling. Right? See, that's actually that. So in the Avengers, I think it was what is that? What is that robot that that goes maniacal, and then lifts up this huge portions of Earth and brings it up. Okay, Ultron. Yeah, it's the movie's called Ultron, Avengers Ultron or something like that, right? It's just like that. Anyway, so uh so think about this. If I'm making $1 million a month, okay, wow, that's gonna be, man. If I make $1 million a month, I'm so okay. So I'm I'm talking about this in this situation. Okay, I'm talking about so I mean, okay, so here it just comes out of my tongue like that. Okay, so $1 million a month. It just rolled out off my tongue. Okay, it just rolled off my tongue. Okay, it's just rolled off. But just imagine this, like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was like losing left and right. My emotions were like, I mean, it was like gone crazy nuts. It was like it was all over the place. Okay, it was all over the place, and what I would do is like 4 to 5 years ago. Then, luckily, what I would do is I would buy so many challenges. I would buy so many challenges. I would risk it, and I would pass phase one, phase two, and then I would get funded, And then I would make like $3 and then I would lose it the next day because that emotional kind of thing, because I didn't have the skill sets that required me to control my emotion. Okay. That's what happened. Right. So now 5 years have passed. 5 years. 5 years have passed. And so many things that I've learned about trading. Essentially, hey, how much was okay? 40 minutes. So essentially, roughly about 5 years have passed. Essentially, okay. So roughly about 5 years have passed. 5 years. 5 years has passed. Okay. And then I'm here at this point where I'm actually getting a payout. Okay. I'm getting a payout. So 5 years ago, I didn't even have a goal. I didn't have a plan. All I had was like I would make the trade and and didn't even realize what I was doing. Essentially, when I initially started, the only thing that was guiding me in that direction was to put money in there, expecting money to come out. I even had a spreadsheet where I would be, I had a spreadsheet in Excel. I mean, I plotted it out. So essentially, I would start with like a certain amount, like 500, maybe $1,000, and I would trade like options, right? And so based on returns, like 10%, I did a calculation, and then like in 1 year, it turned into be like 10 billion bucks. All right. So that was the expectation I had, right? In the past. Then then the emotions and the trading and the landscape of the market really dawned on me, and it struck me, and then did that for the past many years. Then uh, I started to realize that the involvement of the experience, the discipline, and the knowledge. Okay, the knowledge, discipline, and the experience, knowledge, and discipline. Okay, all these things, all these things that are essentially like written on here in the kitchen over there, of what success is. It's essentially about building success of me. It's me. I'm I was working on me in order to prepare for myself to be successful. It is me. Me, 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 me. I have to work on myself in order to get to where I want to go. Okay? I'm working on myself to put myself in a totally different place in the future. That's what trading is, essentially. And it covers everything else, right? That's how it works. Even in everything else. So so that's the plan. Okay, so the plan is to continue with this 10K challenge, pass it, get funded, get a few payouts. From those payouts, most likely I will buy the 50K just to be more conservative, so that I can prove it out a little more. So I'll most likely buy the 50K, and then after I get the 50K, then the payouts from the 50K is going to be far more substantial. It's going to be a far more substantial amount than the 5K and the 10K. It's a multiplication of the payouts that I'll be getting, right? And so that's going to fund everything. It's going to fund the 100K. It's going to fund and then the 100K is going to fund the 200K, and the 200K is going to fund like a $500,000 or whatever it is. And it's essentially, so it's going to fund practically, it's going to fund everything. It's going to fund it. It's going to fund essentially, it's going to fund a lot. Okay, that's how it's going to be. All right. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at for the next few years. Okay. So I'm so okay. So right now I'm just totally focused on making money, not spending money. Okay. Okay. Right now I would be totally happy just buying something to eat at a buffet. Okay, I'll be totally happy with that right now. Okay. Uh, so there's this. What is this guy? What's his name? Who started Amazon? They had this interview, and he was a billionaire. Okay, and so as a billionaire, what he did was gave an interview to CBS, and the CBS announcer, who probably drove a far better car, was sitting inside a Honda Civic. I think it was a Honda Civic. And Bezos, who started it, was asked this question: why do you drive this Honda Civic? Right? Because his mindset was not in spending. His mindset was in making money. Okay. Now he's so rich. Now he's so rich. I mean, he's buying things like his mindset has transitioned. It changes you. Anyway, um, so I know what I'm going to do for the rest of this year. I know what I'm going to do for the rest of next year, and I know what's going to happen in the year 2028. Okay, and I know what's going to happen in 2029. I know what's going to happen in year 2020, 30. I know what's going to happen in 2030. So for the next 5 years. Okay, so if you don't have to be an electrical engineer to understand what this is, and I tell my trading buddy this. It's like there is a diode. Okay, so there is a diode, and there is a relationship of the voltage with current. Okay, there is a relationship between a voltage and current, and the diode is essentially a semiconductor. Okay, it's a semiconductor. It means that the electrical probability changes. Okay, that's what it means. It means it's a semiconductor. Okay, semiconductor means if I were to just take it apart, semiconductor. Okay, so it conducts on a semi level, but it really what that is actually a switch. Okay, it's a switch of current. Okay, it's a switch of a current based on the voltage that's applied. Okay, so essentially what it does is on a molecular level. My right hand is getting tired. So what happens? What happens is, there's on a periodic table. Okay, on a periodic table, there's only a certain amount of elements in this universe. Okay, there's only a certain amount of elements, because I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, okay, so the reason why copper, this chemical symbol is Cu. Okay, not Au. Au is far more expensive these days, reaching somewhere around like $4,000. Okay, I don't know. I mean, it doubled and so there's this Cu on a periodic table. There's only like a few hundred, like on a regular atmosphere, and in current state, there's roughly less than 200 elements. Some elements occur on a brief moment. In a different universe with different atmospheric conditions, it could survive far longer. Okay, just like calcium, right? If you put a calcium in water, it just does something, right? So it's the environment that's. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you have a copper, which is a metal, and the metal conducts, and 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 electricity is uh, transmitted. Okay, copper is a carrier of electricity. Okay, it means that the electrons flow. Okay, electrons flow. I heard this. I'm an electrical engineer. Not a very good one. Okay, but on a physical level, what happens is the electrons move from point A to point B, where the destination and the usage occurs at point B, right? So from point A to point B, it moves. And so, uh, in order to cause the electrons to move from point A to point B, it requires a medium that is less lossy than any other chemical uh, material that is used to carry these electrons, have the ability to sustain itself on a physical level, okay, throughout time, without being oxidized. Okay, so now aluminum is also good too, and gold is also good too, and silver is also good too, right? So there's like probably calcium. Calcium is probably conductive too. Okay, iron. So there's a lot of metals that are used, but if on a Pareto basis, the cost-effective nature of these things, some of them are prohibitive because you can't have gold wires going on a transmission line all across the world because it'd be cost. You can't do that. Okay, so what happens is it behaves like a diode. Okay, it behaves it behaves like a diode. Okay, it behaves like a diode, and once I figure out how to trade, once I figure out how to see, so it just means that there's only a certain amount of chemical elements that are used to carry electricity. In the vastness, this infinite possibility, within this universal infinite possibility, okay, of these chemicals that exist in the real world, reality of the world, there's only one or two things, essentially just one primary thing, which is copper, that is used to transmit power. Okay, that's what it's now we're using like laser, but laser doesn't bend. It just goes from point A to point B in a straight line. It's lossy too, right? So we can do that, but anything that crosses that with power going through it, it's gonna singe it and burn it, and it's gonna. I mean, if you have solar panels in space that is collecting a power and it needs to be transferred down, it's got to be done in a certain way, whether it's packaged up and sent physically, or it's going to be transmitted through laser from point A to point B, right? So from point A to point B, anything that crosses that stream is like crossing, like in Star Wars, these what is that? The lifesaver, right? If you cross the stream of the lifesaver, you're just gonna vaporize, right? That's how that's you're gonna have a lot of birds that are gonna go through these things. Okay, so there's a limited amount of things that can be used to carry power, and it's copper. Okay, so now those are the things that comprises these things, and the diode is one of the things, essentially. So there's a silicon, okay? There's a silicon and there's dopants that causes the silicon to behave in a certain way, okay? And so uh, by adding certain dopant material, I heard nowadays people are able to manipulate diamonds. They can put the impurities to make it less conductive. Okay, I heard diamonds are very conductive with heat or something like that. So it can be used to, I mean, it's a very, very expensive idea, but it can be used to dissipate heat. Okay, so apparently and then you can put other dopants in there to cause different characteristics, like I mean, you can adjust your frequency of light that is transmitted when it's passed through this diamond structure. Okay, so essentially, there's an array of bonding that occurs between the carbon atoms, and when one carbon atom is removed and placed with some other impurity into that structure, it changes color and it behaves in a different manner. Okay, it's because you got these electrons that are floating around. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? You have protons and neutrons in the middle, and you have electrons that are floating around in there, and the electrons. I mean, theoretically, what's happening is that even my hand, it's made. I'm a carbon-based life form, right? I am a carbon-based life form, which means that the particle that's in my finger, okay, is blocking what I'm seeing on the other side of this finger. But if I were to look at it on a microscopic level, the spaces between in my finger, the spaces, I can shine a flashlight through it, it should go right through, right? That's why different type of waveforms will go right through my finger, right? So so that means that if I adjust the voltage, that means that if I adjust the voltage, that semiconductor device, which is a diode, which is essentially okay. There's like a resistor and a capacitor. There's a diode. There's a transistor. Okay, so the transistor. There's a transistor. Okay, the transistor, and now there's like those components are added together to make up the other stuff like a memory cell. It's used to make CPUs. It's made to use. I mean, it's made to conduct certain behaviors. Now we have the building blocks of now we have quantum physics, quantum quantum bits that are able to there's 3 bits. There used to be 2 bits. Now there used to be 2 states. Okay, 1 bit has 2 states, but now we have 1 bit that has 3 states. Okay, who knows? Who knows? Maybe like 10 years from now, 1 bit will have 4 states. Who knows? Who knows, right? The possibility, maybe we'll discover something that we haven't even known about, like right, the properties of phase shifting like regular dirt or carbon. Okay, we could, I mean, theoretically, see, we could probably turn the most common element into a conducting property, right? Somehow, okay, so by making a cost-effective measure, cost-effective transition, taking the most common thing on Earth, and then transitioning as that into a replacement of copper, right? Who knows? Who knows? The advancements of these things, we're just only, I mean, anyway. So, so what happens? I kept telling this trading buddy of mine. I said to him, "Look, trading is going to be essentially like a diode. Okay, a diode has essentially two different states as far as the current transmission is concerned. Essentially, when the voltage is low, no current flows through it. Okay, but when the voltage reaches a certain point, there's an inrush of things that occur because there is a PN junction. Okay, there's a PN junction. Okay, P type. So the semiconductor. Okay, the silicon is doped in a way where it is PNN. Okay, so it's a PNN junction. It's a PNN junction. Okay, so when a voltage is applied, then when the voltage reaches a certain point, when the voltage, I forget what it is, whether the N turns into whether P changes to an N or changes into P, essentially turning into wire. Okay. So what happens is that when a significant amount of current is applied, it causes the state of one side to completely transition into the like of the other side, which causes it to conduct like a like a piece of wire, like a copper. Okay, so then there will be an inrush of current. So what happens is when a transition occurs, when a turning point occurs, what happens is zero current, and then boom, roughly at about zero point 0.7 volts. But based on what kind of carbide, if they use carbide, it could be a different matter, right? If a silicon, anyway, things like that. So different type of materials have different way and different technologies, different things like that causes it. But roughly speaking, on a normal level, we're talking about a zero point 0.7 volt that causes any higher than that is going to cause a semiconductor, a diode, to turn on, which means that with a increase in voltage, with a minute increase in voltage, there will be a logarithmic growth in the inrush of current that flows to the other side. Okay. So you don't have to be an electrical engineer to understand this physical property of, all you had to do was study physics, and physics uh, combining multiple properties, materials, and the things that have been discovered can be applied to understand the things that occurs, right? So that's what happens. So what that means that that means that I was just thinking about, but I was thinking about something else, okay? But I better not let that worry me, okay? Don't worry about it. Everything is all taken care of. Don't worry about it. So, what happens is, what happened, I just need to focus on this to get it going, okay? So what happens is that when a consistency is achieved, just like that balloon in the sky, okay? What's going to happen is a logarithmic growth. It's going to be a logarithmic growth because the only thing that changes, okay? The only thing that changes is the amount of capital that I'll be trading. Everything else is the same. Okay? So uh so uh I had a title in mind when I started this video. Uh Now I'm like I'm trying to figure out what this title is going to be. But for the next couple months, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of the year 2025. What I thought I was going to do 5 years ago is finally coming to fruition. I know what I'm going to do in the year 2026. I know what I'm going to do in the year 2027. I know what I'm going to do in the year 2028. I know what I'm going to do in the year 2029. I know what I'm going to do in the year 2030. Okay? And everything else past that is gravy. Okay? It's just gravy. It's gravy. Okay? We're going to be on a gravy train. Okay? A gravy train. So all I have to do is keep my head in the right space, knowing that God is on my side. Okay? Any detractors that I have been removed, will be removed, and I will be left to my vices to keep going on this journey. Okay? So for the meantime, the work as a dishwasher and a little bit of prep work, maybe I can propose this to the owner. Um, Lately, I've been making fingers, okay, but the fingers require me to tenderize it, but it's very very difficult to do things very fast without making any noise, okay. But people who are working around, they don't. Customers hate it. The people who are around me hate it. Okay, so so uh, so what I need to do is what I need to just transfer that over to somebody else to do that. And so I'm not making any noise. The best way to not make any noise is to have somebody else do it, which means that I cannot be possibly making any noise at all because I'm not doing it. Somebody else is doing it. They can make noise, but they're making the noise. I'm not making the noise, okay? And then maybe I can propose to the owner, okay, so in order to truly keep see, I need roughly about 12 hours of work each week. I need about 12 hours of work each week to pay for everything, okay? 12 hours. It allows me to pay for the restitution, uh, pay the supervision, to pay the rent here, okay, and then once in a while to eat buffet, okay. So that's what I need, okay. So I need at least 12 hours of work. I cannot work in a different environment. I cannot work for a different person because they're not Catholic, and because they're not Catholic, they have a very very they could be Democrats, okay. So these people could be Democrats. Democrats have a very very weird. Um, I mean, they're psychopaths. Okay, they're psychopaths. Democrats are psychopaths, here's what the Democrats, here's how I know the Democrats are psychopaths, okay? So what they do is they marry their own a family member in order to become U.S. citizens. And because there was a loophole, this congressional woman, okay, became a senator, okay, uh, even though she was not born in the U.S. And then what she publicly says to the world is this: I don't care about America. I just care about Ethiopians. Okay, that's what she says. And she and then they create a little colony in the soil, on US soil. Okay? And they crowd out everything, and then they displace legitimate US citizens. Okay? And so when that happens, they preoccupy it. They say that it's their land. They say that that part of it on US soil is their land, and it's Ethiopia, and they only care about Ethiopians. Okay? That's crazy. That's nuts. Okay? That's how I know that they're nuts. The second one, the vast majority of Democrats, I know that they're nuts. Okay? So they want to give so one of so I think she's like nuts, okay? So apparently what happens is so this reporter asked this woman, this congressional woman, and this question. It says, okay, so who do you want Medicare to go to, right? So insurance. And she says to all, okay? And she means it. To illegal immigrants who are not US citizens, they're not even paying taxes on it. I'm paying taxes on Medicare, but I'm not taking Medicare. I'm I'm only working 12 to 15 hours a week. If I'm lucky, I get 15 hours a week, but I'm paying for Medicare, but I'm not even using it. But these crazy Democrats, they want to give money, health care, to people who are not US citizens. When they say all, they mean like they want to give people who are in other countries US Medicare insurance, okay? That's crazy. Okay? So where am I going with this, okay? so, so essentially, okay? So I'm so it would be nice. So what I'm proposing is this. So roughly about 6 hours. If I'm a dishwasher, okay, which is essentially Monday. When I'm washing dishes, like 6 hours of work, roughly about 6 hours of work, less than 6 hours, because I get things done. When the restaurant closes, I'm already done. I'm done, man. I'm done. I get things done, and I'm out of there. Okay, I don't want to waste the restaurant's money, so roughly I get about 6 hours for one day. And then if I get another day, if I make that into 2 days, which means that it's going to be, which is essentially going to be 12 hours per week. Okay, so I can survive on 12 hours per week. Okay, 12 hours per week, I can survive. I can use that to pay for everything. Okay, it's going to cut down on the number of trips to the buffet table, right? But I can survive that. I can go to Costco and get some oatmeal and things like that, right? And I can survive on that until this massive skyrocketing thing that occurs in 2026, where when I achieve a consistency and I have a bank account, then the fluctuations in the hours that I work is going to be less. It can fluctuate, and it's okay, because I'll be able to supplement the income of being a dishwasher with the money that I'll be making as a day trader. That's the idea. That's really going to kick in once I cross the threshold of 100K funded account. Okay, once I cross the threshold of 100K account, I haven't been a doc. I haven't been to a dentist in. I haven't been to a dentist in over 10 over. Wow, I haven't been to a dentist in like 8 years. I haven't been to a medical doctor. Uh, I haven't been to a medical doctor in 56 years. I don't have a personal doctor. I don't have a general practitioner. I don't even have. Anyway, so So essentially, that's like that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna happen that way. Okay, it's gonna happen that way. So if I can get about 12 hours of consistent work, 12 hours of consistent work where I know what's gonna happen. Okay, then I don't have to worry about, okay, so I have to, so I don't, so the noise that I'm making, apparently when I'm tenderizing this finger meat, okay, so so a restaurant, the differentiating factor between a Carl's Jr. and Burger King for a niche family restaurant is having fingers, okay, and the fingers are expensive, and so some of the meat are tough. So in order to soften it up, it has to be tenderized. But tenderizing causes noise to occur. Okay, it happens. Okay, because you got two cutting boards slam each other together, and then the meat has to be pounded. So this, whatever the name of this thing tenderized is called, I mean, it's got little spring things in there that make some noise, right? So anyway, so if I can make a proposal, is that okay? So maybe I can do washing dishes for like two days out of the week. Okay, the person who's doing the dishes, who works like 5 days a week, has another job as a dishwasher. So this person has two jobs. Okay, or as a dishwasher. That's so I don't know how that works, but I mean, if something were to happen, I could be working as a dishwasher and for 2 days out of the week, and then the prep work kind of thing, and I can't work at other places because their way of thinking is totally contrary to the Catholic way of thinking. Okay, and there are quite a few of people who don't understand. Okay, so I was at Planet Fitness. I was at Planet Fitness today. Okay, so here's how normal people think and how logically a successful, consistent, profitable day trader thinks. Okay, so I was at Planet Fitness thinking, so I need to shave, I need to take a bath and things like that. I need to take a shower and things like that. And so I get there and I go to the men's room, and there's two toilets there. Okay, so one of them is like plugged up. Okay, so I walk over to the front, the counter of Planet Fitness, and because I just came from a buffet and I just, I need to use the restroom. But there was another one, but I just wanted to let them know, hey, look, there's some issue here. The toilet is plugged. I just need to let them know. Okay, I didn't do it, but I just had to let them know. So I walk up to the counter, and this millennial. Okay, I heard some really interesting things about millennials. Okay, millennials, the way that they think and they converse is quite weird. And so here's how what happened. So there was three people there. One of them was on the phone, and this lady deferred my disclosure to this millennial, and this millennial young man turned around and addressed my concerns. I told this young millennial, I said, "Look, the one of the toilets is plugged." And she says, "Okay, which one?" And he says, "Which?" Asked me which one. I said, "Okay, so," and then I asked him, "Oh, so there's more than one men's room?" Okay, and then he says, "Okay, which I guess I so what is it, number one or number two or whatever it is?" And so I said, "Well, it's." I had to describe to him what the situation is. The brown stuff is in the toilet. Okay, so it's like you got things in there, right? And so then he moves on and starts questioning about. What did he ask? He has this question. He says, "Okay, which toilet? Which one?" And I said, "What?" I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, so what is this problem?" Okay, so I'm just disclosing. But I think what's happening is that this millennial, even though I just walked in and I walked over there to tell them about it, this millennial has already made a judgment of me, okay? And he in his mind, he believes that I did it, okay? He believes it. And so he was making sure that he asked questions to show his displeasure. He is displeased with the statement that I was making because he, as an employee, has to do something about it. Okay, but I'm simply the messenger to make sure that things around me when I'm there are properly set for customers like myself. Okay, and so what happened is this. Okay, so then he asked me which one, and I'm asking him, I'm asking this millennial, does it matter which one? Okay, doesn't matter which one. Okay, right? Doesn't matter. And I started like, I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is his problem? Okay, I'm just giving you the information. I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you what happened. So there's weird things going on. So, so I, so I went on my business of doing what I need to do so that I can look, so that I can remove myself from being in a state of being a day trader in this area, okay, all by myself. And proper grooming requires me to remove some facial hair because it grows out, okay, and so that's the situation now. So now I'm in a state. I haven't made YouTube videos in like almost a month now, okay? But I need to document this so that I know what I'm going to do in the next. It's a so 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 what's gonna happen? It's like 75 degrees in here now. What happens is the air conditioner is turned off. Air conditioner is turned off at 6 o'clock. It turns on at 6 o'clock in the morning. It turns off at 6 o'clock at night, which means that during the summertime it gets really warm in here. Okay, so I have a little fan that I bought. Okay, I have a little fan that's on right now. Okay, during the wintertime it could get cold. Okay, uh, so I'm all over the place. That's exactly what it's like. I'm all over the place. Do you know why it's exactly like that? Initially, I have no idea what I'm doing as a day trader. Initially. And then as I become more familiar and consistent, then I focus. And then I'm able to use my discipline. I am able to use my experience. I'm able to experience my knowledge in a cohesive manner to become a consistently profitable trader. So I know what I'm going to do for the rest of this year. I know what I'm going to do the next year. I know what I'm going to do the next year, the following year, the following year.